Greetings, all praise the King. Topic today, Mystery Babylon. The scripture teaches us in the Revelation about this being, force of something evil. Chapter 17, the woman who is portrayed as a harlot has a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. This is in all caps. So what is it that this signifies? Mystery is a kind of secret. It has not been revealed. God gives us wisdom to make this revelation. The Babylon in ancient times operated as an occult, as they do today. This is simply for exclusionary purposes. They seek to keep others out, because when others don't know, they possess no power. The power is tied into knowledge. We've discussed in detail the weaponry that is now formed, and even spoke about in this revelation. In chapter 13, you have the introduction of this second beast, which we know is the AI, giving power to the first beast, man's rule, derived from Hammurabi. And man's world origin is important. Where do things come from? This is why man has invented the fallacy that I and I fate comes from the Justinian complex, which was derived from Hammurabi. And an utter falsehood, as explained in I Law video from the rasreaps-rasreaper-rasrebirth count. Today, this device is the pinnacle of idolatry. It has perfected its advanced state to become this one great idol, which is mysterious, because the Babylon is not about to explain the inner workings thereof. So typically people are fed notions that this machine exists to enhance people's lifestyle. It is concerned with your interests, which is true, and it uses that information to determine what is best suitable for you at any given moment. Of course, using the screen, the device. The smartphone is the latest gadget to assist Babylon in their conquest. exclusionary. Keep people in the dark as to not know what is going on. Some people might say, well, don't worry about what's going on. Just deal with what you can have control over. Positive. In the same breath, they may say the world's coming to an end. Look at the devastation of the planet. So, whether it's worth it to spend time to think about these issues, something inside tells somebody like myself, maybe we should be thinking about this if the earth is coming to an end. Lost minions would find this to be unrealistic. And even those employers thereof are talking about this is as a reality. They would tell their subordinates, if the animal species are going extinct, this may be a reason for caution. And it's just got to wonder who cares if the animals go extinct. Because we're living in a new world. It's a fantasy. It's part of exclusion because when people are zoned into their screens, thinking about what's being shown or told to them, they're excluding themselves from truth. This being the opposite thereof. True knowledge is truth. And the Babylon can use this to their advantage, obvious, and do, obvious. With the so-called ad targeting, for example. You have a product, you know who may be interested in that product, you can target those people. You're obviously going to sell more. So whoever has that information, has the upper hand. And it happens to be the same powerful, wealthy individuals because they were already in place over those institutions, which now have the technology to gather the information. We've spoke about the DNA, which is a numerical sequence that identifies who you are, supposedly. It has certain physical characteristics and things that you can't change mostly. However, there are behavioral attributes that are calculated, and those are adjusted as behavior changes. So the DNA is constantly changing. It's really all about interpretation. How does man interpret a certain behavior? If somebody stands up to fight for the survival of elephants, the man may say this is a bad behavior. So they input into the DNA a particular sequence, which then re-identifies with something that is not preferred. They claim, there's a perfect DNA. Some people have started these new age religions to say to endorse this way, and in so, have claimed that the first man, Adam, had a perfect DNA. And afterwards it got defected to the point where it is now. Of course, it's still people on the earth like the Rothschilds whose DNA is perfect. So even as Paul had said, we're being measured against each other. It's obvious in our world of competition. As we have more of these devices, we become more competitive against one another, and this forces us to use these devices. Plays into the hands of the beast man. Other exclusionary processes such as licensing and various regulations also come into play. For example, if you would like to have some of the information that is generated through this process, you won't be successful because that government, that's ruled by the beast, will keep you from getting what you need. It's a national security issue. So the information that has potential to produce wealth is given into the hands of the already wealthy at the expense of the massive poor, impoverished people. As time goes on, there becomes less impoverished people. You know how the man says, if we all just work hard, we'll all achieve that level of success, and we'll be lifted out of poverty, and one day we'll all be healthy and happy and wealthy and rich. There may be some truth to this. There may be some truth, because as time goes on and more people become eliminated from the earth in various forms of warfare, whether chemicals, poison in the water, or just the British trying to get some natural gas, kill some people up. You got an elimination of poverty, extermination of populations, and as a result you have less people. And then those people that are left over can now say, hey, there's been progress, we're all living pretty good. It's based on the natural resources of the earth. Even it speaks about this second beast as coming out from the earth in chapter 13 of Revelation. So there's only a limited amount of resources on the earth. And, you're talking about air, water, trees, gravel, rocks, and whatnot. Food, now the whole push for genetic engineering has been a result, man destroying the earth to the point where the conventional food does no longer grow, at least at the rate that's needed to keep up with the population demand. So they got these GMOs and now GMHs. To cope with this artificial evolution. These GMHs are programmed. There's, even if the scientists haven't taken a baby or a sperm into a lab and manipulated it, it's really not happening. This is witchcraft. Remember, it's not real. Even as Abraham had said, they are but no gods. And Isaiah, they could not see, hear, and man seeks to defy this, so as to refute what has been written, to say, no, these are gods. Look, it can see you through your device, it can hear you, yet I say it still has no breath of life. So man looks to insert his chip in you, make you what they call the cyborg. And then you'll be so confused through programming, you really won't know what's good. The elephants, like what kind of purpose do they have? We didn't eat them. And he's doing this from childhood. They're now introducing these devices into the classrooms to take over the position of the teachers. So the beast tames the child. And they become confused as to not know truth. The truth is something you only obtain from the Creator. Because truth is something you know. You know that man is wrong. That's true. You're not going to read that somewhere. Maybe you will. It will be classified as opinion. And maybe you believe what you read, but do you know it? Yeah. So truth is what we know. We may have come to know it, or we may have already known it. Nevertheless, it's true because we know. Now, the man seems to mix this in with knowledge, as to say truth is knowledge. Well, knowledge is truth, but truth is not necessarily knowledge in the way that true knowledge is accurate information. It can be relied on. The truth, as I stated, is a spiritual existence. And so, even though you may obtain knowledge from others, you will not obtain truth. You have to obtain this for yourself. Even the scripture says, if a man says, here's the Christ, there is the Christ, believe him not. Because you must know the Christ from within. Part of this scheme is to develop these satellites. Now, you look into the sky and you can't see which one is a star or a satellite. When you use the camera and zoom in, though, you won't pick up the stars, but you'll pick up on the satellites. And there's more and more since last year. As time goes on, these satellites are put into the sky to spy. That's their purpose, to spy on people. It's supposed to give people faster, whatever. And the other thing is, these people that tell you the satellites put in the sky, they don't really even tell you much about their purpose. They say it collects. It's for, for the services, for the television, all this service talk is a way of disguising, to hide from the public by making these processes private. Privatization. And privatization is a way to get rich at the expense of others. There's also ways stated to disguise the operations. You no longer have to disclose what that satellite's doing for that company. See what I'm saying? This is obviously being, applauded as the way, the way of prosperity. Again, if you got, I want to say 1.5 working brain cells, you probably come to assume it ain't really working for you. And then your brain might begin to wander as to how it is working. What is it working for? You used to turn your television, button. The station used to change the knob, the station would change. And now you hit the button and there's a freeze. So, maybe there's more options. But nevertheless, what they've done through this privatization is they've eliminated the regulation. So there's no, in this, the so-called United States of America, there's a department that handles the communications. It's supposed to regulate what's on the television or whatever. Apparently there's no internet regulation. So that's how they're able to get away with it. Because once you privatize these industries, it kicks the so-called government out, which means that, even if there wasn't protections before, you know what I mean, they don't have to answer to anything. If the public calls and says, we see something going on, we're paying tax money for you guys to exist, what's happening, give us some information there. They don't have to divulge on anything. That's the whole idea, is to hide the operations. So meanwhile, while these operations exist to spy on you, they also exist so you won't be able to see what they are doing. The man says, well, if you ain't got nothing to hide, you ain't got nothing to worry about. There might be some truth in that, because these folks are hiding. So, the Babylon really has no purpose in life. They look at the sky and they see stars, and they think that that's their purpose, to serve those gods. And now they've got their own idols, as spoke about throughout the scripture, the idolatry, is now alive in the hands of these wicked few, so they can worship these new gods they call in the sky. If we just examine, especially if we examine from the writings of the prophets, we'll know that the idolatry was the reason why Israel fell. And so we're called, as my hand has found the kingdoms of the idols, whose graven images did excel from Jerusalem. We're called to destroy these idols from within, to cleanse the temple, and to invite the living God. If any man knocks, the door shall be opened. And if Lord knocks, we shall open the door.